The mission of all hands was to get out there and give the sailors in the Navy a voice.
It could be news, it could be like an all hands call, and it went everywhere and people got it. And especially on the ship, that's really important.
All hands, when I hear that, it says there's something for everyone here.
All Hands magazine was so much more than images and text. It was a way to see the Navy. It's a magazine for sailors by sailors.
Originally, the magazine started off as, it looked almost like it was a typewritten copy. It was the notifications and memos from the Navy's Bureau of Navigation. Even from its initial non-flashy beginnings, it was out there to support the sailor, to let them know what was going on, predominantly policy changes.
Named after an all-hands call where you'd kind of deliver the gouge. Personnel information is always needed, but I think it was sailors being able to read about other sailors and what they do. That was the thing that, you know, those magazines got passed around all the time. They'd end up in berthing compartments, they'd end up in the heads on the ship, and sailors would be interested in reading about their colleagues.
If you do a little bit of research on the magazine, you can definitely tell what an impact it had on the fleet as a whole, and not just for our community, not just for the MC community. That magazine was coveted, and sailors looked forward to receiving that every month when their command would get the boxes of new issues.
It changed my life in so many ways, and it, like a pebble you drop into the middle of a lake, the ripples extend far beyond the site of impact. People who've never heard of All Hands magazine have benefited from something and have been made better because of it. That's the effect of All Hands magazine. It enriches people's lives.
I enjoyed the rhythm and the flow, and every month was different. And you know, at that point, working with all the sailors as they developed stories, you know, full-blown 3,000-word features, and having an understanding of how something goes from the camera to the page, and making sure that that looked good, and that the covers, you know, people were proud of their covers. And I mean, that was kind of a big deal. I had MCs be like, "Yes, I finally made a cover," and you know, and I'm like, "Well, you gave me a good shot. You gave me a shot that was worthy of the cover."
The impact that working for All Hands had on my life, especially telling the sailor stories, was tremendous. The most incredible, wonderful job I've ever had. It feels like you really are taking part in something special when you get to tell, you know, a sailor's story. And the wonderful thing about it is you get to take a moment in their life. You get to go there, experience their job. It's like having the ability to go into someone's life, just like a minute, and telling their story. It's been the most incredible experience of my life.
In Bahrain, we were notified that the coal had been attacked.
We just could not believe that that had happened. We ended up deploying Jim Watson, Petty Officer Watson went out on that. And once they got there, what they saw with sailors fighting their ship and trying to keep her afloat until help could get to her When the photos started coming back, it literally, I don't think that there was one person there who didn't feel like they'd been punched in the gut.
It was interesting because it's not the first time where something like that were news. Like we'd submit our photos and they'd go to Chimfo and all this, and then they'd end up running in magazines all around the globe, especially for the 9/11 Ground Zero and Pentagon imagery.
I had left the Pentagon earlier, got back across the river to All Hands Magazine, and that's when everything transpired. Our photographers, who were dispatched immediately, not for the sake of the magazine, but for the sake of what was needed for historical proper documentation and life-changing for so many people.
Kind of picking up where we left off previously when the print magazine ended. We stopped printing and kind of lost our purpose and our way. We weren't sure what was going on and what we were going to do. We had to reimagine the ways that we were reaching sailors, and it meant that we had to expand our reach by using multiple platforms where sailors were going to go to get that content. Now is more of a community of platforms. It is more than a magazine, it's more than the website, more than our social media, it's more than AFN. All of those platforms is what All Hands is now.
It's easy to forget what it used to be, but for those of us who've been around for a while and we saw it in print, and I actually still have old editions of All Hands Magazine that I was inspired to keep for a variety of reasons. So it is different, but I think it's still just as impactful. All Hands Magazine still serves the same purpose that it did when it was in the printed form, and that was, I believe, to inform and entertain, sailors across the fleet.
The fact that it's been 100 years.
It makes me proud just knowing the magazine's hit 100 years and I was able to be a part of it.